Hey, welcome back nerds, Fino here with a guide/walkthrough for the Mephistopheles exhibition quest. This one's a real bastard. Not terribly fond of this one. And yeah, also that right there, that's a reset. Alright, that's gonna take a little bit of unpacking. What that buff was, that buster buff that Mephistopheles gives, it comes with a cost. After 2 turns, you get hit with a colossal attack down. And if it's on your main attacker, you may as well just reset, because you're wasting a ton of time. You have small windows to attack Mephistopheles in this fight, and if your main attacker is crippled, it's bad news, and you're also under time pressure, but I'll get to that as well. So, right off the bat, Mephistopheles hits you with 3 stacks of buff block. There are servants that can get rid of this. The healers can, Asclepius is great, so can Martha. Failing that, you can just spam buffs to get rid of it. Someone like Waver is really good at doing that. Especially if you just need his charge. Yeah, so Mephistopheles is consistently darting in and out of this fight. And apparently the conditions for him doing so are either your contract expires the one he gives you, in other words that buster buff, or one of your servants dies. Now there are 20 enemies here, you can't actually clear it. Some runs actually do. But in general, I would not do that for most attempts. Okay, so here Mephistopheles is on the board, and I'm going to take the chance to blow him up. Now, you may have noticed that when he shows up, he actually taunts every other enemy on the board. This means that it is very hard to get at him with single target attackers, at least without additional health. Here, I get pretty lucky with a Brave Chain, and I'm going to need it, because 666,000 health is quite a bit. Now, if you're wondering why I'm using Astolfo here, it's actually because he synergizes with Scotty. Scotty is actually the key to this run. Ooh, just barely off the mark there. But yeah, Scotty is the key to this run because of that that ticking clock. Well, yeah, remember that buster buff I talked about? Well, this one works similarly but on a longer time scale, except instead of reducing your attack at the end, it kills you at the end of its duration, but it gives you NP gain for the time being. It goes for quite a while, but it'll give you a clear indication of when it's about to happen, and we get to see the rare and coveted Scotty NP. Because one of the underrated properties of Scotty's NP is that it gives you insta-kill immunity. Now, it does come at a price, which I'll talk about, but there we saw Mephistopheles' break effect, which is that he purges everyone's buffs. Real fucking nuisance. Also, when he's on the field, Mephistopheles has a chance of dumping additional contracts onto your servants. He doesn't throw as many as Sheba, but they are pretty damn annoying. Here we see the first big obstacle, that knight. When Mephistopheles comes back onto the board, and, well, assuming that knight isn't on the right slot, that thing will get taunted, and it'll prove to be quite an obstacle. So because of the way that works, sometimes it's actually okay to not DPS the enemies down. And in fact, opening up a window where you're dealing huge damage to them actually works a lot better most of the time. Alright, here I pop Gate of Sky because you saw those clocks change at the bottom. That's the indicator that the insta-kill is about to proc. And Scotty's going to screen for that, and also protect me once I get to see the side effect of doing this. You see, Mephistopheles isn't content to just insta-kill you or, whiff it. If it doesn't work, he'll just gut your max health. By about say 10,000, I think. Yeah, it's 10,000. And this is a part of the reason why I'm not using low rarity servants as my main attackers. Because if your servant has less than 10,000 health, they get set to 1 health, and that is an extremely difficult position to win from. Now there are runs that use servants like, yeah, I remember seeing one run that ran both Ushiwakamaru and Alexander, but apparently the RNG for that was absolutely brutal. So, it's not, I would not consider it a practical option. I tried a few attempts with like Medusa just to mix things up, but it was not working out. You either need a servant that has the health to survive with 10,000 cut off, or you need to end the fight quickly, and the 3-star riders have a lot of difficulty filling that condition. The 4-star riders, though, are actually quite adept. I chose Estafo here because he has his awesome 50% self-charge. The Welfare Rider should work just fine. Maybe not Santa Altar. I tried Santa Altar. That was quite a rough run. But Kintoki Rider and Ishtar Rider, especially if you run them in concert, can do some serious damage to Mephistopheles. Ryoma should be able to do it as well. I'm not the biggest fan of running Ryoma. And again, remember, the servant that you actually want to draft for this quest is Scotty. She doesn't need the damage CE, although, you know, that'd be funny. And thankfully, Scotty is extremely common right now since it's Lotto season. So if you don't have one, just pull one off your friends list and make sure to charge your NP before, you know, the clock ticks down. Now there are some other strategies that can work. Well, actually, I should elaborate on that strat. So the reason why, like, the Ishtar Rider Kintoki combo works, you can actually just use Ishtar Rider by herself, but Kintoki makes the fight substantially faster. Because if you sweep aside all the trash mobs with Ishtar Rider, Kintoki can leverage some pretty ridiculous single target damage onto Mephistopheles and keep the fight going. Ideally, you either want to pop his bar before the insta-kill procs, or after. You really don't want to do it on the same turn, obviously, but if at all possible, I would try to do it before. Holy shit, is he already dead? I barely had time to do this commentary, what? Oh, fuck, I'll have to cut some stuff out. Yeah, there's some other stuff. I guess I have to throw in some fucking B-roll now. Jesus Christ, that was fast. So while you can pair your single target and AoE servants, and they can both be riders, they don't necessarily have to be. You can actually run Nidacris as your AoE servant. And the reason why that works is because a lot of the early enemies, aside from that Gold Knight, which spawns like a fair ways into the encounter, they're bronze. So Nidacris can actually just insta-kill them and free up your single target attacker to go after Mephistopheles. Now there is a limit to how many times you can do this effectively, but if you set up your team right, you're not bound to running an AoE rider. Also, I want to point out, for another alternative, servants that have substantially more than 10,000 health are pretty well set for this fight. Like, if you want to use someone like Jinako or King Protea, they can they can cheese it if you're really keen on doing so. Also, there's some other strats. You can use Argent Altar, obviously. Everyone's going to tell me in the comments. Yeah, if you set them up right, you can blow up all the minions and nail Mephistopheles with Buster crits, of course. Another thing I've seen people do is run Mothman Lelouch, Qin Shi Hung. And in that strategy, you actually brawl your way through every enemy until Mephistopheles is alone by himself on the field. And because of his ridiculous protection, you can actually get away with doing that. It's pretty funny. So if you're finding this fight exceptionally difficult, you can always just borrow Argent Altar or the Emperor. But if you happen to have Kintoki Rider or Ishtar Rider, It's perfectly doable. Just grab a Scotty off your friends list. Alright, with that said, I hope you found this useful. Like if you liked the video, subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Streaming this weekend, Friday through Sunday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. Gonna do a little bit of the JP event, and then switch back to Gilfest for the finale. So see you there. Peace.